Every week, someone on your team is manually sending purchase order emails, chasing supplier confirmations, and copying numbers from invoices into a spreadsheet. And every week, that process costs you more than you think. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how small businesses are using AI to automate their entire procurement process, from requesting a quote to paying the invoice, without hiring more staff and without learning a single line of code. Procurement sounds like a big company problem, but if you run a small business, you're dealing with it every single day. Someone needs to order supplies. That means finding the right vendor, sending an email, waiting for a quote, getting approval from the owner or manager, creating a purchase order, sending it back to the vendor, waiting for confirmation, receiving the goods, matching the delivery to the order, and then processing the invoice for payment. That's 10 steps for every single order. And in most small businesses, all of that is done manually by a person using email and spreadsheets. Here's what that actually costs you. A typical employee spends somewhere between 4 and 8 hours per week just on procurement-related tasks. That includes writing emails, following up with suppliers, fixing errors, and updating spreadsheets. If you're paying that person $30 an hour, you're spending somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000 a year on manual procurement work. And that doesn't include the cost of mistakes, a mistyped quantity, a wrong delivery address, an invoice that doesn't match the purchase order. These small errors cause delays, damaged supplier relationships, and in some cases, you end up paying for things you didn't receive or receiving things you didn't order. The process is slow, it's error-prone, and it pulls your team away from work that actually grows your business. Here's the simple version of what's possible today. AI automation tools can watch your email inbox, read incoming supplier quotes, extract the key information, compare prices, draft purchase orders, route them for approval, send them to the vendor, and then match the incoming invoice to the original order, all without a human doing any of those individual steps. Think of it like a very detail-oriented employee who never forgets a step, never makes a typo, works at any hour, and doesn't need to be reminded to follow up. The tools that make this possible are platforms like Make, Zapier, and newer AI-connected systems that can read documents, understand email content, and move information between your existing software automatically. You don't need to replace your accounting software or your email system. These tools connect on top of what you already use. Let me walk you through 2 real examples of how this works in practice. Let's say you run a small retail business and you need to reorder inventory from one of your suppliers. Normally, someone on your team would notice stock is running low, send an email to the supplier asking for pricing and availability, wait for a reply, get approval from you as the owner, manually create a purchase order document, send it to the vendor, and then file a copy somewhere for your records. With AI automation, here's what that same process looks like. Your inventory system reaches a reorder threshold and automatically triggers a request. The automation sends a standardized quote request to your preferred supplier. When the supplier replies with a quote, the AI reads that email, pulls out the product name, quantity, unit price, and delivery time, and populates a purchase order template automatically. If the order is under a certain dollar amount, say $500, it gets approved automatically and sent to the vendor without anyone needing to review it. If it's above that threshold, the automation sends you a one-click approval notification by email or on your phone. You review it, tap approve, and the purchase order goes out immediately. The vendor confirmation comes back, and the automation logs it. Your team gets notified that the order is confirmed. That entire process, which used to take anywhere from 1 to 3 days and multiple back-and-forth emails, now takes under 10 minutes. And the only human involvement was a single tap on your phone. The second place where small businesses lose significant time is on the back end of procurement, when invoices come in and need to be processed. Here's the common scenario. A supplier sends you an invoice by email. Someone on your team opens it, checks it against the purchase order, confirms the quantities and prices match, enters the invoice details into your accounting software, and queues it for payment. If there's a discrepancy, they have to contact the supplier, wait for a corrected invoice, and start again. This process happens for every single invoice your business receives. If you're ordering from 10 or 15 suppliers, that's a significant amount of time every month. With AI automation, an incoming invoice email is detected automatically. The AI reads the invoice, whether it's a PDF attachment or a structured email, and extracts the invoice number, line items, quantities, and total amount. It then pulls up the original purchase order from your records and compares the two documents. If everything matches, the invoice is automatically entered into your accounting software and flagged as ready for payment. You or your bookkeeper simply reviews a clean, pre-filled list and approves the payments in a batch, instead of doing the data entry manually for each one. If there's a discrepancy, the system flags it, summarizes what doesn't match, and notifies the right person to follow up with the supplier. You're not chasing paper. You're just reviewing exceptions. This alone can save a small business 3 to 5 hours per week in manual bookkeeping work. Let's put some real numbers around what this kind of automation produces. On the time side, businesses that automate their procurement workflows typically reduce the manual hours spent on purchasing and invoice processing by 60 to 80%. That's not a small efficiency gain. For a business with 1 or 2 people handling this work, it can free up several full days of productive time each month. On the error side, because the AI is reading and transferring data directly, rather than relying on someone to type it in, mistakes tied to manual data entry drop significantly. That means fewer supplier disputes, fewer delayed deliveries due to incorrect orders, and fewer payment errors that have to be unwound later. On the cost side, the automation tools that handle this kind of workflow typically cost between $50 and $200 per month, depending on the complexity of your setup. When you compare that to the cost of manual labor and the cost of errors, most businesses see a return on that investment within the first 60 to 90 days. And there's a less obvious benefit that doesn't show up in a spreadsheet. When your procurement process is automated and consistent, your suppliers notice. You become easier to work with. You pay on time. Your orders are accurate. That builds the kind of supplier relationship where you get priority service, better payment terms, and in some cases, better pricing over time. Procurement is one of the most repetitive, document-heavy processes in any small business. It's also one of the most automatable. You don't need a large team or an enterprise software budget to make this work. The tools exist today. They connect to the systems you already use, and the setup is well within reach for most small businesses. The core idea is simple. You remove humans from the repetitive steps and keep them involved in the decisions that actually require judgment. Your team stops spending their time copying data between documents and starts spending it on work that moves your business forward. If you've been thinking about streamlining your purchasing process, this is one of the highest return places to start. The time investment to set it up is low. The ongoing time savings are significant, and the process improvements compound over time. If this kind of practical automation content is useful for you, consider subscribing to the channel. Every week I publish straightforward, no jargon guides like this one, focused specifically on how small businesses can use AI tools to save time and reduce operational costs. No theory, no hype, just practical systems you can actually implement. I'll see you in the next one.